My life is full of regrets. When I was young I insisted on marrying Pei Zhon, who was aloof and self-restrained, and trapped by strict rules and the shackles of propriety. He never once gave me even a fraction of genuine care before he died. Our only son was at odds with me. He passed the highest imperial exams 3 times, yet on the throne hall he knelt and begged for an edict severing ties with me, and refused to see me again until his death. Decades of entangled love and hate, resentments, and obsessions. In my final breath I finally understood. Pei Zhon, if there is a next life, you should marry Shu Mai. All these years, I was the one who held you back. Before the words finished, I died. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Shu Mai and I competed for a place at the academy and both fell into the water. Pei Zhon happened to pass by and reached out his hand to us. I pointed to Shu Mai and softly said, "Young Master Pei, save her first." In the last life, I forced Pei Zhon to save me first. At that time I deliberately slowed my fall and purposefully swallowed a few mouthfuls of water, crying out intermittently to play the pitiable one. Pei Zhon, who had been closer to Shu Mai, hesitated for a moment but ultimately turned to me. News of our close contact spread throughout the capital, and Pei Zhon had no choice but to marry me. But the Pei family's rules are strict. From the moment I entered the household, every evening at the UR I had to personally prepare a broth to nourish the old madam's stomach, to demonstrate filial piety. Even when my monthly sickness came and the pain was unbearable, Pei Zhon calmly advised, "The Pei family has always valued rules. Your mother-in-law lived this way too. We cannot make an exception for you." I was not allowed to leave the mansion at will, not allowed to run a shop, nor to go to the theatre for leisure. Day after day trapped in the deep residence, I grew listless and couldn't help but seek him in the study. He attended to official business for a long time before looking up, his gaze heavy. Marrying into the Pei family means abiding by Pei family rules. Wei Tanning, you cannot want both respectability and freedom. I was like a puppet controlled by strings, unable to walk beside him simply because it broke protocol, forbidden to wear bright clothes for fear of losing propriety. Even when husband and wife shared a room it had to be on the days the physician calculated, each time no longer than a quarter of an hour, with a maid outside recording it in a ledger. I argued and made scenes. In the end, being punished to kneel in the ancestral hall became commonplace. Pei Zhon always looked at me coldly. The rules of noble families are generally like this. From the moment you chose me when you fell into the water, you should have considered the consequences. I regretted it, cried and demanded a divorce, but was diagnosed with a pregnancy. I thought having a child would change things. But as soon as the child was born he was taken to the Rongyan Hall. Pei Zhon seldom spoke to me at length. Yue is the legitimate grandson of the Pei family. If people know he was raised under the name of a mere merchant's daughter, it would harm his future. Besides, his mother comes from the Langya Wang clan. In feeling and in reason, you should be grateful to her. After that, the child was raised excellently. He began learning at 3, was well versed in scriptures at 5, and at 7 could chant poems and compose couplets, celebrated throughout the capital as a prodigy. I was both pleased and heartbroken. He did not recognize me, and our yearly meetings were only by ritual, where he addressed me once as madam. I anguished within the Pei family's rules and propriety, and gradually accepted reality. I had no more hopes in this life until Su Chan arrived. Everything changed. She had been Pei Zhon's childhood playmate, a homeless orphan, and a talented woman strikingly similar to Shu Mai. Rules were restraints to her. She flitted freely through every corner of the Pei residence like a butterfly among flowers. Propriety was a burden. She could go out in fashionable clothes for spring outings, climb mountains, and seek streams. Pei Zhon said, "She is free-spirited. Rules are dead things, one should understand her." The day Su Chan became a concubine, Pei Zhon allowed her to ride in a bridal sedan and wear a red wedding dress, granting her the dignity only a principal wife normally received. Even the child she bore she was allowed to raise herself. On what grounds? I asked. Pei Zhon scoffed. The Su family is esteemed. Making her a concubine of my Pei family is already a grievance. Why wouldn't she deserve it? Wei Tanning, what do you think? His question carried disdain from on high. making me look like someone lacking self-awareness. I became despondent and withdrew to a corner to live out my days, but it lasted only 2 years before Suchan's second child was stillborn. I brushed past her then. She gripped my hand and tearfully defended herself to Pei Zhon. Husband, sister did not do it on purpose. My child's fate is frail, lacking the affinity to come into this world. Blood flowed profusely beneath her, her face as pale as paper. I laughed in furious disbelief. Pei Zhon, does this trick still need me to expose it? I produced evidence that Suchan's fetus had been developmentally weak and even brought the doctor from outside the residence who had provided her with abortifacients to confront her. I thought I had one, but I was thoroughly defeated. My son Pei Yu stood up to testify for Suchan. He swore to heaven. Today a batch of ink pads arrived at the residence. When Madame entered the storeroom, black ink remained on 5 of her fingers, and Madame Su happened to have an ink mark on her shoulder. He turned to face me, full of disappointment. Madam, you are narrow-minded, unfit to be the matron of our Pei clan. Is father to shelter her? Pei Zhon of course would not shelter me. He forced me to hand over the inner household, elevated Suchan to equal wife status, and I was confined to the most remote corner of the Pei estate to live out the rest of my days. 10 years later, Pei Yu topped the imperial exams and, on the golden throne, sought an edict to sever blood ties with me. I was already gravely ill. Pei Zhon, rare in his visits, took my withered hand and sighed softly. Pei Zhon, if there is a next life, marry Shumai. These years, I have held you back. Before he could answer, she exhaled and died. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Shumai and I competed for the academy spot and we both fell into the water. Pei Qiaozhan happened to pass by and reached out his hand to us. The unbearable darkness and pain of those nights surged up like poison. I pointed at Shumai. Save her first. The words had barely fallen when I turned and dove beneath the lake, swimming to the opposite shore and climbing out. Pei Zhon's eyes narrowed slightly. He did not save Shumai. Instead he reversed course and stopped in front of me. His gaze swept over my drenched clothes, and he took off his cloak and tossed it to me. I turned aside to avoid it. The cloak brushed my back and fell into the lake. Pei Zhon's forward-leaning body stilled for a moment, his brows lowering as he averted his eyes. Why won't you? I wrung the water from my skirt, took the cloak I had prepared earlier from behind the flowers, and wrapped it tightly around myself. When I looked up again, Pei Zhon had still not left. I glanced at Shumai, who had been rescued by someone else, bewildered. Why didn't you save her? Pei Zhon was momentarily startled, as if he'd just realized she had people to save her. What about you, then? Why wouldn't you let me save you? As you can see, I can swim. Why would I need you to save me? I turned my face away, pushed myself up, adjusted my clothes after steadying myself, and took a step back. Besides, men and women shouldn't touch. Pei Zhon seemed to find it ridiculous. He stepped forward and let out a light, amused chuckle. Wei Tanning, you were aiming for me today, now playing innocent. At this moment, the noble girls surrounding Shumai all glanced over, and the Du family's daughter, who was close to Shumai, pushed through the crowd and rushed up to me. Wei Tanning, you actually shoved Shumai to get into the academy, despicable and treacherous merchant's daughter. Today I'm going to beat you to death. With a sharp crack. What came even faster than the slap was the sting of nails tearing skin. Her brows and eyes were full of mockery. Wei Tanning, do you think dragging Shumai down will let you climb up to the Pei family? With such low behavior, even being a concubine of the Pei family is wishful thinking. My throat tightened, and all I felt was the humiliation of being exposed on the spot. Jiyu Ruyu saw that I said nothing and suddenly raised her hand again. I took a deep breath, grabbed her wrist, twisted it, and shoved hard. Jiyu Ruyu hadn't expected me to fight back. Her brows sharpened, and she drew the whip from her waist, snapping it straight at my face. Wei Tanning, are you looking to die? I couldn't dodge in time. A streak of blood appeared on my arm. The whip came so suddenly that Pei Zhon reacted first, catching the second lash that Jiyu Ruyu had thrown with one hand. His voice was cold. Miss Jiyu, are you going to treat human life as nothing? Jiyu Ruyu yanked back the whip, her cheeks flushed with anger, scolding. Pei Zhon, Today she dares to endanger Shumai's life. Tomorrow she'll dare to kill and set fires. Are you going to protect her? Hearing the words protect her, I reflexively cut her off. Gu Ruyu, I don't need anyone to protect me, and I didn't push Shumai into the water, didn't push. Wei Danying, you dare to do it but not bear the consequences. They are certain of the matter. I cannot defend myself with 100 mouths. Fortunately, Shumai gradually woke up and spoke in time. Are you? Miss Wei didn't push me, she was saving me. You does not, obviously she pushed. Am I? Could it be you are muddled by the water? Shumai's eyes swept over her and landed on me, covering her lips with a cough. I dragged Miss Wei to the lakeside to dispute the academy's quota. Who knew I slipped and fell into the lake? Miss Wei jumped into the water to save me without a second thought. I panicked, clung to her, and nearly caused a terrible accident. Miss Wei, Ryu's anger at you was because of me. I owe you an apology, and as for saving my life, I will repay you another day. With Shumai's testimony, Gu Ryu unwillingly apologized to me, but she still called me a bad person in her words. I had no desire to argue further, she was right. I was never a good person. I used the academy quota as a pretext to provoke Shumai into arguing with me, and I led her to the lakeside step by step. Only her falling into the water was not part of my plan. I had only intended to lure Pei Zhon into the water to rescue me. Even if he hadn't saved me, I could have swum to shore myself. I drew my cloak tighter and turned away from Pei Zhon's probing gaze, exhausted in body and mind. As I returned to the Wei residence, my father stood before the ancestral hall. Before I could kneel, I was struck across the face by him. March. During the late cold snap, the wind bit sharply. Worthless. Go get your family punishment. 10 lashes of the family law came down. And I crawled on the ground, pain searing through my whole body. Mother stood at the doorway, tears in her eyes, holding the hand of my 10-year-old younger brother. Looking at me, she threw her frail body onto my back, unable to cry. How did it fail? The suppressed sting of the lash surged as she collapsed, and I suddenly returned to that night in my past life when she urged me to seduce Pei Zhon. Back then I had miscalculated accounts and my father beat me 3 times. She came to dress my wounds, her tears seeping into them. The pain returned in waves as if being torn open again. Tanying, find a way to get away from the Wei family. Don't end up like your eldest or second sister, living worse than death. The Wei family made their fortune by selling daughters. In Jiangnan, they earned a good deal of silver by selling the illegitimate girls, and with that they started a business. Gradually their operations extended to the capital. The eldest sister was given by our father to the Minister of Revenue as a concubine. Through this the Wei family secured a foothold in the capital. But within 2 years the eldest sister was toyed with to death by the minister and his son, finally wrapped in a tattered mat and thrown into the mass grave. The second sister was married into the Cheng family as a supplementary wife, which brought the Wei family a route to salt permits. Yet within a year the second sister was tormented to death by her mother-in-law, ending with 2 lives lost from one body. So she chose Pei Zhon. She taught me to stage a chance meeting with Pei Zhon in the Buddhist hall, taught me to use teasing and retreat to lure him, and taught me to arrange a drowning to ruin my purity so I would be forced into marriage. In the last life, I succeeded. After marrying Pei Zhon, the Wei family became the top merchant family in the capital. When my younger brother came of age, he smoothly became head of the Wei household, but my sacrifice only earned the Wei family closed doors. When I quarreled with Pei Zhon and sought a divorce, I was blocked outside the Wei residence. She said to me, "The Wei family has no daughter who divorces. Either die, or get out and go back to the Pei family. Pretend you were never born, reunited after 2 lifetimes." She reviewed why I failed last time and concluded the Pei family threshold was too high. We must take another route. Her comforting tone cooled from warm to icy. Tanying, mother has inquired about 2 households. Again, she wiped at the corners of eyes where there were no real tears with a silk handkerchief. One is the legitimate second son of Prince John's mansion. His age would match yours nicely. He's rather honest, and as a second son you just enjoy a comfortable life if you married him. I lifted my eyes faintly, waiting for her to name the second option. The other is to be the main wife of General Wei. Though he's older than you, an older man with a young wife, he will cherish you. Which one do you want to choose? She threw the question back at me. I forced a bitter smile. If I hadn't been reborn, I truly would have thought these were two choices no worse than the Pei family. The son of the Jean Prince's residence was called honest only because he was an idiot. Being simple-minded might be tolerable, but he was also lecherous, ruining virtuous young women every day. General Wei was over 30 and had outlived 3 wives, earning a reputation as a husband breaker. But he wasn't breaking wives. Clearly those 3 had been beaten to death by him when he drank and struck them blow after blow. I couldn't help but laugh aloud. Mother looked at me with difficulty writ on her face and whispered through small sobs, "Both families have your father's approval. Isn't Tanying satisfied?" The whiplash on my back burned unbearably, but not as much as the bitter disappointment in my chest. I steadied myself. "Mother, allow your daughter to think about it." In an instant, a trace of satisfied smile spread across her face, and she drifted away with her drowsy little brother. From beginning to end, she never even asked me whether it hurt. 6. Shu Milai came to see me stepping through the spring rain. The whip scars on my back were just scabbed over, and I could only lie on the bed. She swept over my pale lips. "What happened?" I tugged at the corner of my mouth, my face flushed as I said, "The roads are slippery with rain today. I slipped by accident. Please forgive the poor reception, Miss Shu." She pressed her lips together and then sat down on the edge of the bed. Our relationship couldn't exactly be called good. For a while, an inexplicable silence filled the space between us. It wasn't until Yinyu came in with tea that some of the awkwardness eased. Shu Mai tasted the tea, looked up with a surprised expression and said, "What kind of tea is this? It even has a milky aroma." Yinyu grinned, showing 2 dimples, waved her hand and said eagerly, "This is a new tea my girl developed. She starts with a light tea base, cooks it and then adds milk." Miss worried it might be too rich, so she also added some green plums. Nobody in the household dislikes it. Shumai found it interesting and quickly said she'd try it when she returned to the residence. Once the conversation opened, Shumai chatted about trivial matters in the capital. Now she mentioned that Shufang Pavilion had released many new spring garments, then that a restaurant had opened on West Street, and finally she embarrassedly added, "Next time, if there's a chance, let's go shopping together." I pressed my lips and smiled, but didn't respond. Shumai let out 2 awkward, forced laughs, then suddenly sat up straight. "Wei Tanying, I know you lack for nothing, but a life-saving kindness should be repaid like a gushing spring. If you ever need any help in the future, just say the word. If it's within my power, I will never refuse." She was very sincere, so sincere that I almost blurted out, "Marry Pei Zhon." Thinking about it was absurdly ridiculous. Looking at her like that, a teasing impulse suddenly rose in me. There really is one extremely important matter I need Miss Shu's help with. She was taken aback by my solemnness and directness. What important matter?" I pretended to ponder. "I hear you're holding a coming-of-age banquet in half a month. I wonder if I might be fortunate enough to attend." Hearing that, Shumai immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "This is simple. I'll officially send out the invitation when we get back." But she hesitated for a moment. "I had many friends in my bridal chamber that day, so I fear the hospitality may not have been sufficient. No matter, as a merchant's daughter, being invited to your coming-of-age banquet is already a great honor. I won't do anything improper." Her brows and eyes curved with a smile, as if she had completed a task, and she turned away proudly to leave. Mother hurried over, looked at Shumai's retreating figure, and gripped my hand tightly, scolding, "Tanying, how did you end up walking off with Miss Shu?" Her long nails dug into my palm. The sting was like needles in an instant. I kept my composure, turned slightly, and pulled my hand back. "I heard young Master Shu became a Hubu Langzhong at a young age. Although the Shu family is not as illustrious as the Pei family, they are still a notable household in the capital. Tanying, you must seize this chance." Her eyes narrowed slightly, a heated desire rekindling within them. I bit my lip. I was just about to tell Mother about this. "Miss Shu has invited your daughter to her coming-of-age banquet in half a month. Many prominent families will be there, but your daughter is short on funds right now. Before she could finish, Mother sprang to her feet. Tanying need not worry. I'll go ask your father right away and have the accounts authorize some silver for you. Her eagerness was exactly like that of a doting mother anxious for her beloved daughter. Half an hour later, Yinyu came in holding dozens of silver notes. Young lady, there are fully 5,000 taels. She was overjoyed. At last you can prepare a proper set of clothes. Recently the capital is fond of Lioli many-jeweled necklaces from the Anchi kingdom. At Miss Shu's coming-of-age banquet, you will surely astonish everyone. I interrupted her with a smile. If I steal Miss Shu's spotlight that day, it won't be long before I'm pushed out by others. Yinyu pouted gloomily. Then won't the young lady buy anything? Of course I will. I want to buy a mountain that can produce money. By the time we boarded the carriage, Yinyu still hadn't figured it out. Miss, do you really want to buy that mountain? I lifted the carriage curtain and looked at the willow catkins drifting across the street, already April in a blink. And if we didn't secure that mountain now, we might lose the chance. Yinyu, when you make inquiries later, don't just ask about that one mountain. Ask whether the surrounding mountains have owners, how much they cost, and whether the deeds are official or private. Get all of that clear. After instructing Yinyu, I took 1,000 taels of silver and went to Shufang Pavilion. Though Shufang Pavilion was the capital's most famous old shop, its craftsmanship was rather conventional. Aside from introducing the Lioli treasure-stealing pearl from Anchi, it had nothing outstanding. Perhaps because of memories from a past life, I had grown somewhat picky about jewelry. Seeing me glance around, the shop assistant showed a trace of disdain. Just then Jiyu Ruyu happened to spot us. And she snapped at me, if you like something, I'll give it to you. I looked up in a daze. Don't just look without buying. You'd only make people laugh. She pushed aside the shop assistant standing to my right and pointed at a grape hairpin strung with multiple green gemstones. Wei Tanying, do you like this hairpin? I cast a cursory glance and politely declined. She then pointed to several other items in succession, all of which I politely refused, making her so furious she placed her hands on her hips. Wei Tanying, what do you mean? Last time I hit you with a whip. This is my apology. Do you despise these things? Or do you despise me? I sighed, took out a few sheets of pattern paper from my sleeve, and sent the shop assistant to fetch the proprietor. Guyu's jade-like temper flared up quickly and faded just as fast. She leaned over to stare at the sheets in my hand, exclaiming in succession, did you draw these? Wei Tanying. I handed them to her to examine and explained as I spoke. This is a pearl lotus coronet, the base set with many glass and precious bead pendants, the openwork gilded metal twisted into the shape of a lotus, the tips inlaid with pearls, and long pearl tassels hanging from the back of the crown. They sway gracefully with movement delicate without being coquettish. I switched to another sheet. This is facial ornamentation, using light shell pigments to outline the image of a blooming lotus on the outer corners of the eyes. The area where the forehead jewel extends is dusted with pearl powder so that when sunlight hits it, it gives off a soft, lustrous sheen. Guyu's jade-like eyes grew wider and wider. The currently fashionable makeup was mostly peach blossom style, beautiful, yes, but so widely copied that it had long since lost novelty. Shumai's temperament is pure and chill as snow. Bright clothes would only upstage her, so I also hand-painted 3 sets of spring jackets, respectively in shades of blue-green, indigo, and lotus root pink, blending shell powder into the fabric. At first glance they seemed unremarkable, but when the skirt swayed in motion it was as if moonlight had been kneaded into the cloth. Guru was stunned again. Wei Tanying, can you sell them to me? I pulled back the manuscript, shook the paper and shook my head. This is a coming-of-age gift for Miss Shu. If you want it, when you come of age, I'll paint a set for you. Guyu's previously low spirits were instantly filled with joy. She clasped my shoulders with both hands. Wei Tanying, I want to be your friend. I clutched the handkerchief to my mouth, afraid of revealing even a hint of secret delight. With the exchanges between Guru and Shu Mai, my mother gradually relaxed toward me much more. Yinyu also found out. The 3 mountains outside the capital suburbs were ownerless. The brokers said they belonged to the government office and could not be privately traded. Miss, Should we still buy this mountain? But we don't have anyone familiar to vouch for us. The office won't sell. Yinyu sighed helplessly, propping open the window lattice to let the dampness out of the room. The spring rain outside the window had paused for a moment. Crabapple petals lay scattered on the ground. I recopied an essay lessons for women, and when the ink had dried, I threw it into the fire. Yinyu was stunned. Young lady, you've recopied manuscripts more than 100 times recently, why keep burning them? I was momentarily stunned, because I want to memorialize the self that was once disciplined. 8 On Shumai's coming-of-age banquet day, the sky obliged and finally cleared. I avoided Jiyu Ruyu's repeated winks of invitation and sat properly at the far end of the table. When Shumai made her entrance, the hem of her skirt rippled with each step, causing quite a stir. She had chosen that solemn dark indigo dress. When the chief guest placed a pearl lotus crown on her head, waves of envy rose around the table as everyone asked where the spring robe and crown came from. Shumai smiled without answering. Jiyu Ryu kept the secret for a while, and only when everyone pressed her did she say that a new shop had opened on West Street called Ueji Pavilion. She twirled the pleated skirt, and in an instant dozens of luminous gauze strips fluttered out from the folds, so light they seemed like fireflies. This is the Firefly Luminous Gauze Skirt, a new item from Ueji Pavilion. Go take a look when you can. Give them my name at the register and the shopkeeper will give you a 20% discount. Shumai looked slightly embarrassed, took my hand, and led me out of the crowd. If it were now, would be falling into the money trap. She covered her mouth and kept laughing. Tanying, you really are clever. You're the one who's going to lose out here. Ryu and I didn't spend a single cent, and we even took a share of Ueji Pavilion's portion. I feel a bit embarrassed. I raised my hand and brushed away the stray hair on her forehead. How could that be? If it weren't for you and Ryu making the shop's reputation, Ueji Pavilion might not have been able to open smoothly. When I first suggested opening a shop, it was actually just a gamble. After all, women trading wasn't respected at the time, commerce was deemed a lowly profession, and gentry families placed many restrictions on women. Unexpectedly, Jiyu Ryu was very interested. The three of us hit it off at once, leased a shop on West Street, redecorated it, and waited to officially open after Shumai's coming-of-age banquet. Now the name has, so to speak, been established. But what do you mean? But it's easy to open a shop, but running it long-term isn't simple. You have to handle the officials above and guard against ruffians below. Without a backer, you're likely to draw jealousy from other families and may invite trouble. Shumai's eyes narrowed. So what should we do? I lowered my gaze and fidgeted with the silver ring on my index finger. Suddenly she brightened. Tannying, perhaps we can find someone reliable to vouch for us. My brother Xu Jie, he's currently a clerk at the Ministry of Revenue. Father says my brother will be promoted to Longzhong by year-end. Do you think that would work? A great weight lifted from my chest. That would be perfect. But could you let me have a proper talk with your brother? Shumai didn't think much of it and agreed to go on the outing in a few days. On the day of the outing my brother will be off. He'll escort me there. I'll give him a heads up in advance. It's just, Tanying, my brother tends to keep a stern face. Don't be afraid, he's actually very kind. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I had seen him long ago, on the day Shumai died. Xu Jie chased someone across 3 streets with a drawn blade. I was merely passing by and he fixed his gaze on me. That day the snow weighed down my hat brim and he abruptly pushed it aside. I pointed in the direction the man had fled. Before he rode off he warned coldly. Mind your tongue. Thinking about it now, my heart still can't help but clench. Yinyu added hot water to the tub and, while scrubbing the ends of my hair, didn't forget to chide. The temperature swings are odd lately. Miss, next time you go out you mustn't let the wind hit you so freely. Also, I went to the dental shop and made inquiries. Someone else has been asking about those mountains too. I suddenly looked up. Do you know who they are? Silver Moon shook her head. Not sure, but I've heard the official prices for those mountains have gone up. She held up 5 fingers. You've already exceeded the budget. Miss. 9. Miss, do you absolutely have to buy this mountain? She nodded. In my previous life, iron ore would be found in these mountains 6 months later. If I could claim it. I could elevate the Wei family to imperial merchants. As for silver, I could only take a desperate gamble and try my luck. Yin wanted to cry but couldn't. Miss, you're way too bold. What if you lose everything? I really couldn't explain that I've had extremely sensitive hearing since childhood. When bored I loved throwing dice to distinguish sounds, and I even snuck into gambling houses to test it, so when I tried and won a few times, Yin instantly admired me to the core, but I didn't dare win too much. I had to lose occasionally to avoid attracting attention. Inu's eyes sparkled. Miss, just 2 more times and we'll have enough silver. Miss, you're incredible, but we celebrated too soon. We had only just started placing bets today when someone suddenly crashed down from the 3rd floor, their brains splattering. I tilted my head and swept a quick glance upward. Before I could pull Yin out, a group of soldiers burst in, and right behind them was Pei Zhan with a stony face. We hadn't seen each other for a month, and he seemed even colder and harder than before. He had the soldiers search everyone mercilessly. Even those flashy scions weren't given an ounce of face. Yin hid cautiously behind me. My eyelids twitched. The next moment, a shadow suddenly fell over my head. Pei Zhan's face was terrifyingly dark. Are you mad? My heart jolted. I instinctively twisted my fingers. He snatched my wrist violently and dragged me outside the door. Wei Tannying. Even recklessness has limits. A woman going into a gambling house. If someone finds out, aren't you afraid of being skinned alive? His grip tightened abruptly. Are you short on money? Yes. I looked up to meet his gaze and said. Hearing that, Pei Zhan let out a low laugh, then took a few steps closer to me, his tone surprisingly fond. If you're short on money, why not come to me? I rolled my eyes and turned my face away. Pei Zhan chuckled muffledly. All right, stay here obediently. I'll send you back once I deal with the gambling house. I yanked my hand away forcefully and just then saw the soldiers carry a corpse out of the gambling house. Pei Zhan instinctively reached to cover my eyes. I turned my head aside and swept my gaze over the body. The deceased was a Wang family illegitimate son, who had become notorious in the capital for his arrogance after his half-sister gained favor in the palace. Pei Zhan's gaze landed on my face oddly. Aren't you afraid? Yin ran out and hesitated as she tried to speak to me. I shook my head slightly. Pei Zhan insisted on sending me back to the residence. For safety, I timidly climbed into his carriage. The ride was silent until just before disembarking, when Pei Zhan pinched the bridge of his nose and said, the authorities usually put up a reward for homicide cases, 50 taels of silver for providing clues. There's no upper limit. He gave me a half smile, half sneer. I gritted my teeth, almost letting slip the curse your father. 500 taels, I taunted. Pei Zhan perked up. You really have a lead. I took a deep breath and reached out my hand. Give me 500 taels first. Pei Zhan, without a word, pulled out 2 500 tael silver notes and handed them over. That man is about 5 kai tall. His left hand has 6 fingers. Pei Zhan suddenly sat up straight. Really? I pocketed the notes and nodded firmly. I heard that by the 3rd day Pei Zhan had solved the case, with speed comparable to a divine detective. That day the spring weather was beautiful, and it had finally come to the outing Shum I had arranged. Unfortunately, we ran into Pei Zhan again. He was riding with Shu Jiewan ahead of the other. Shu Mai, a little embarrassed, explained. Pei Zhan said he had important matters to discuss with my brother. I inwardly snorted twice, a string of curses looping through my head that I couldn't help but think. Jiu Ruyu poked my lips. Tan Ying, what are you muttering? I shook my head, pretended not to notice, circled to the back of Pei Zhan's horse, pulled out a hairpin and suddenly jabbed it into the horse's rump. Before Pei Zhan could react, the startled horse bolted with him and raced off 100 meters. Shu Jie frowned and looked at me. I wiped the blood off the hairpin and put it back in my hair, meeting his thinly angry gaze. Young Master Shu, today I have the prior agreement with you. I'm really too lazy to beat around the bush, so I'll get straight to the point. You must have heard of Yueji Pavilion. I'm willing to give the Shu family a 30% profit share. How about you act as guarantor? Since Yueji Pavilion opened, profits have been considerable. Ordinary ruffians causing trouble can be paid off, but the most troublesome issue is the business tax, heavier each time. Shu Jie sneered at my offered 30%. Does Miss Wei really think the Shu family needs to get rich off a merchant girl like you? I looked him straight in the eye. It is 30% of all commercial income under my name, Wei Tanying, for 5 years. How about it? For a moment a flash of appreciation crossed Shu Jie's eyes. Working at the Ministry of Revenue, he was naturally sensitive to money. 30% for 5 years was indeed tempting. We soon reached an agreement and I pressed my advantage. I want to buy Luoxia Mountain in the outskirts of the capital. Young Master Shu, can you give me a discount? Shu Jie's brow furrowed slightly. Luoxia Mountain is bare. What would you buy it for? I thought for a moment, then beckoned him to lean in. This mountain has an iron mine. Shu Jie was taken aback. I nodded, took out a stone concealed in my sleeve. Clenched it into his palm. He stroked it for a moment, curled his lips and smiled. Aren't you afraid I'll abuse my power for personal gain? I retorted. Master Shu is still garrisoning the border. Your Shu family can't swallow this. As for me, I'm a merchant, standing by profit. Everyone will only praise my luck. Shu Jie finally looked me squarely in the eye. The spring outing was very pleasant, and things were handled extremely quickly. Fast. Yinyu hugged the deed to Luoxia Mountain and sighed repeatedly. Miss, you're broke again. I spread out the map and marked Luoxia Mountain's position heavily in the outskirts of the capital. After a few interactions with the Shu family, Mother was very pleased and was far more generous than usual when providing me silver. Everything was moving in a better direction, except for Pei Zhon, who periodically went mad. Zhon kept finding reasons to come to me, which rekindled Father's hopes of currying favor with the Pei family. Tired of the annoyance, I simply accompanied Shu Mai to Jinshan Temple for vegetarian meals. Seeing that my impatience with Pei Zhon wasn't feigned, Shu Mai asked with puzzlement, Tanying, don't you like Pei Zhon anymore? Looks like my attempt to flirt was a bit too obvious. Then what about you? Do you like Pei Zhon? I countered. Shu Mai paused, then burst into laughter. How could that be? I don't like him at all. The Pei family is strict. Anyone who marries in will be skinned alive. I gave a wry smile. Didn't I? In my previous life, I lost more than a layer of skin. I was imprisoned until I died. Sigh, sigh. We both sighed. I'm in love with someone, and we're about to get engaged, but I don't know why. Clearly I want to marry him, yet I can't shake this uneasiness. Shu Mai closed her eyes in distress. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. Not surnamed Zheng. Right. 11. Zheng of Xingyang clan. In a past life, the Shu and Zheng families married. Shu Mai wed the youngest son Zhengyun. At that time, I was still endlessly envious, but when I was imprisoned, I heard that Shu Mai caused a divorce, and Zhengyun, afflicted by an internal illness, in a fit of rage killed Shu Mai. At that time I sighed, and I kept thinking late at night that if Shu Mai had married Pei Zhon, they would surely have been happy for life, harmonious and blissful. Unexpectedly, after so many twists and turns, I actually forgot this episode. Shu Mai was in low spirits for several days in a row, and after coming down the mountain she fell ill. Jiyu Ruyu came to see me twice to discuss what wedding gift to give Shu Mai as a dowry item. I tossed and turned, and ended up writing a letter to Shu Jie. Shu Jie reacted quickly. Only after a while did he learn that the Zheng family was searching for a medicine to treat a hidden ailment. A few days later, Jiyu Ruyu was beside herself with worry. Tanying, the Shu and Zheng families have called off the engagement. My hand, poised over the abacus, hung in midair, and I let out a relieved breath. You know how upset Mai must be. Why don't we invite her to the theater to cheer her up? I put away the account book and split up with Jiyu Ruyu. She went to fetch Shu Mai, and I went to the theater to book a table. When a charming person has a streak of bad luck, it always catches them off guard. Princess consort Zhon brought her foolish son to watch the opera. While avoiding them along the corridor, I carelessly twisted my ankle. Our eyes met, and the fool clung to me, refusing to let go, calling me fairy, fairy the whole time. Mother consort, I want to marry her. I froze on the spot, and half my scalp went instantly numb. Princess Zhon seemed to have weighed me up with a sweep of her hand. Before leaving she took off the bracelet from her wrist and shoved it at me. I hesitated for a moment, then had to lie. Your Highness, this girl is already betrothed. A woman cannot be married twice. I beg you, sir, to find another bride. Princess Jeanne disdainfully tossed the bracelet to the ground. As she swept her sleeve and left, she sneered, "The graves of those who have deceived me are already overgrown. You'd better not make me dig one up." I dared not stop. I hurried out of the opera house. In less than half a day, the whole capital was abuzz with the news. The idiot of the Jean Prince's mansion has taken a fancy to the merchant's daughter Wei Tanying. I was wrapped in my quilt, trembling all over. Yinyu cried helplessly several times. She was torn between joy and worry and said regretfully, "From a mother's point of view, it's still better to marry into the Pei or Shu families. It's a pity Pei and Shu are not fated for you. This Prince John's residence is also a good place." I curled my hands tight, my nails digging deep into my palms, wishing I could tear her hypocritical face apart immediately, but "It's not yet time to tear the mask off," I sniffed. "Mother, your daughter already told Princess Jeanne that she has an engagement." Smack! A roar filled my ears, followed by her abuse. "Bastard! An engagement with whom? Pei Jeanne, Shu Jie, tell me, whom did you promise, or did you let someone take your virtue?" Her eyes tinged with cruelty, she raised her hand and slapped again. "Fine, fine, in 3 days, get yourself into the Wei household, save Princess Jeanne the trouble of whipping your corpse." Pain spread through my body, a sharp ache twisted my stomach, and filth rose up and out of my throat. Silver Moon hugged me, sobbing uncontrollably. "Miss, why not go plead with young Master Pei? What's the difference between a wolf's den and a tiger's den? And what about young Master Shu?" After emptying my stomach, my mind suddenly cleared a bit. If I'm ultimately going to get married anyway, then what did I come back to life for? I'm rebellious at 12, but before I could sort out my thoughts, Pei Jeanne made a grand show of coming to the Wei family to propose. "Tanying, I'm here to marry you." He looked at me with deep affection, as if those shameful events between us had never happened. Mother couldn't contain her joy. She kept looking at the betrothal gifts with satisfaction. "Wonderful. Tanying won't have to marry that fool." I sneered coldly. "No, Pei Jeanne, the farther you get, the better." Face clean and merciless rebukes and cold words. Pei Jeanne wasn't angry. Instead, he kept lowering himself, his voice carrying a hint of humble pleading. "Tanying, I won't wrong you in this life. Please give me one more chance, okay? I swear, in both past and present lives, I will love only you, both past and present lives." I laughed bitterly. "Pei Jeanne, you really are utterly disgusting." I stepped closer, pressing him. "Too bad, for both past and present lives. I, Wei Tanying, have never liked you." "Impossible." He ignored my sarcasm, convinced that I was in love. "The pouch you gave me, your staged accidental encounters, and your constant flattering and seduction, how could that be fake, Wei Tanying? You're just afraid to admit it, aren't you? You needn't worry about Su-chan either. She is the crown prince's." In a flash, I suddenly remembered, on this same day in my previous life, the crown prince was attacked at the National Academy, rescued by a woman who later became a favored consort after he ascended the throne. I shoved Pei Jeanne away and ran out. My mother's apology was caught by the wind, rising and falling, scattering behind me. "Later, Mr. Pei, rest assured, the Wei household will accept this betrothal gift. Tanying is immature. Please be more patient with her. Once she enters the Pei residence, you can discipline her properly. I truly have no time to deal with them, since I have no fame or position. Then today I will use this life to win a way out." I spurred my horse and galloped, arriving at the National Academy to find blades flashing and shadows of combat. A silent cold arrow was flying straight for the crown prince's back. I barely had time to think before charging forward. The moment the arrow struck my shoulder, I heard someone else cry out. Glancing aside, it was Su-chan. For some reason she was here too, her face full of astonishment and terror. I had no time to think. I turned my horse and kicked Su-chan into an alley. Then everything went dark. When I woke again, Pei Jeanne was at my bedside, his eyes red and his voice hoarse. "Wei Tanying, are you crazy? With so many guards, why did you have to rush in and risk your life to save him?" I gave him a glare. "I'm not worthy." "Is your Su-chan worthy then?" Pei Jeanne was taken aback, almost laughing, and shook his head. "Why are you so maddeningly jealous, carrying it over 2 lifetimes? What a lunatic." Today I was going to tell you anyway. Su-chan and I never had a relationship in our past life. She survived an accident and saved the crown prince, then was taken as a concubine. Because of her low status and pregnancy, the crown prince feared the princess consort's jealousy and harm to the child, so he entrusted her to the Pei household. In our past life she was perverse and proud, always taking her anger out on you. Because of her position, I had to put you in the side wing for your safety. He drew a deep breath and spoke with difficulty. As for not letting you raise Yua in that life, it was because your mother agreed to my marrying you on the condition that the child would not be registered under your name. Tan Ying, rest assured, I've cleared those obstacles in this life. Once we are married, Yua will be registered under your name. In this life Su-chan has also lost the chance to cling to the Eastern Palace. She cannot enter the Pei household. Tan Ying, will you marry me? His hopeful look overlapped in my mind with the moment in my past life when he coldly took the child away. Absurd. So absurd. Absurd to the point that I felt like an unforgivable villain. A person. Pei Zhon. Do you really think marrying me is some kind of gift to me? Am I, Wei Tan Ying, so cheap that every time I have to enter your Pei family's fire, I'll say it again. Whether in a past life, this life, or a next life, or the life after that, I will never like you. Could you please go far away? Okay, he laughed, very lightly, yet it sent an even colder chill through me, the corners of his mouth lifting with a look of absolute certainty. Wei Tanying, you will willingly marry me. 13. I hadn't expected him to move so quickly. In no time, news spread from the Eastern Palace that Pei Zhon had entered the palace to request a marriage decree, so I, begged an audience with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince toyed with the folding fan in his hand, watching me with keen interest. Pei Zhon is the very model of a gentleman, Miss Wei. Do you truly not love him? I prostrated myself on the ground and declared, clear and forceful, I do not. The Crown Prince arched his brow, feigning pity. Could it be that Miss Wei wishes to enter the palace? It wouldn't be impossible for me. I wouldn't dare. I hurried to raise my voice and cut him off. He half raised his body, using a folded fan to lift my chin. What, are you going to hold my life and death debt over me? I dared not look him in the eye, lowering my gaze slightly, and spoke with utmost sincerity. All this woman asks for is autonomy in marriage, or to be your highness's money bag. I've never had any other improper thoughts. The Crown Prince withdrew the fan, murmured twice interesting, then shifted tone and said coldly, I have more than enough money bags, with what little the Wei family has under their name. Why should I do you that favor? Don't forget, there's also the Zhon Prince's mansion. I know that well, which is why I'm more willing to gamble. I don't expect those above to truly hold me in esteem just because I took an arrow for them. I straightened my back and offered my sincerity. If it's the Wei family will follow the Crown Prince like a horse follows its rider. Would your highness trust me? He pondered for a long while, then looked at me anew, suddenly curling his lips. I'll be watching closely. The heart that had been hanging in the air finally sank quietly. Fortunately, I had already publicized the assets under my name, otherwise the Crown Prince would certainly not have relented so easily. Now the Pei and Zhon families were no longer to be feared. Next to be dealt with was the Wei family. In a flash and with the Crown Prince's backing, the evidence of embezzlement by the patriarchs of the Wei family's two supporters, my eldest sister's and second sister's husband's families, was submitted to the censorate. When Xu Jie learned the news, he came to me in disbelief. Both of them are supporters of the third prince. If you act like this, aren't you afraid of bringing trouble on yourself? I'm not worried that the fire won't be fierce enough. In my previous life the Crown Prince already showed the bearing of an emperor. I merely placed this bet to seize the throne and intended to deal with the Wei family. How could I not first deal with those two pests? I want their homes destroyed and their clans exterminated. I want them to die without a grave. I want their bones chewed by ants and worms to offer sacrifice to the spirits of my eldest and second sisters in heaven. Yet this is still not enough. Not enough. Both houses were raided one after the other. Father was as anxious as ants on a hot pan, running around everywhere but meeting obstacles at every turn. While he was frantic, I deliberately let slip that Luoxia Mountain contained hidden matters. His murky eyes immediately lit up. He gripped my hand urgently for confirmation. Tan Ying, is this true? I nodded, handed him the letter written in imitation of Pei Zhon's handwriting, and suggested slyly, this was found by the Pei family, it's still an unclaimed mountain. Father, you can take this chance to have the third prince act as your guarantor and sign for the mountain. The Wei family's glory will soon follow. He seemed like a salted fish turning over, flush with pride and ready to go pledge his allegiance to the third prince. I timely tried to dissuade him. Father, this matter needs careful deliberation. How about having people mine in secret first, and then, before I could finish, he cut me off with a wave of his hand. What do you know? A heaven-sent opportunity like this, His Highness the Third Prince will surely keep me safe. I lowered my eyes, the corners of my mouth slightly lifting. 14. The third prince immediately ordered his father to open it at once without bothering with any formalities. But mining requires money. Sure enough, he poured almost all the ready cash from the Wei family's bank into it. Just as he was smugly thinking he could leap into becoming a top imperial merchant, I sent people with the Wei family banknotes, in batches, to redeem silver in full. 500,000 taels of silver. The money simply couldn't be produced by the bank. When the news spread throughout the city, Father grew frantic and irritable, pacing wildly. At that moment I thoughtfully handed him a knife. Father, why not first borrow from the people at interest? Money begets money, once due, and the iron mine deliver their goods. This interest will be nothing. It's more important to complete the third prince's matter first. Really, the father, desperate in his illness and grasping at straws, agreed without a second thought. He mortgaged all the assets under his name and signed an interest rate so exorbitant it could doom the entire Wei family forever. When he held that stack of banknotes, thinking he had come back to life, I pushed open the study door with the documents I had long prepared. His joy was such that even the wrinkles on his face seemed to smooth out. Dan Ying, your method is really good. It solved the Wei family's urgent crisis. I glanced around the corners of his study. The Huijin inkstone on the desk had a missing corner. That was from when I was 7, begging him not to marry my eldest sister off to the minister's residence. He flew into a rage and smashed the inkstone at me, leaving that mark. I was terrified then. Every time I came to the study and saw that inkstone, I couldn't help trembling. Now that I picked it up myself, I realized it was nothing special. My father hummed a satisfied tune, and I suddenly raised my hand and smashed the Huijin inkstone hard into his forehead. He was terrified. Wei Tanying, what are you doing? I didn't say anything. Then she lifted the inkstone again and smashed it repeatedly onto his leg. Bones. When second sister was bullied by the Cheng family until she was a wreck, his disgusting face was still vivid in her memory. It's only right for a woman to kneel and pray for her husband's family every day. You're just being pretentious. If only heaven would let me be reborn 10 more years. How wonderful that would be. Too bad there are no IFS. I dropped the inkstone. Killing him was less than revenge of the heart. Father, having gone to the underworld, be sure to properly apologize to first sister and second sister for me. He froze, then flew into a rage. Wei Tanying, how dare you? I pulled out 100 or so deeds. Everything of the Wei family is in my hands. On the road to the underworld, make sure to go slowly and remember you have to wait for mother. The mother, who had rushed over in a hurry, finally bared her fangs. She raised her hand to slap me, but I grabbed her wrist and flung her hard into the fish tank in the courtyard. She screamed sharply, Wei Tan Ying, you unfilial, ungrateful bastard, I'm going to throw you out of the Wei residence. I grabbed her hair and slammed her hard against the tree. Get going. What a pity for mother. You won't get the chance. She was slammed so hard her face twisted. Seeing I was serious, she softened and said in a gentle voice, Tanying, what's the matter with you? I'm your mother. You wish. I grabbed the nearby flower pot and smashed it hard against her shin. Up ever since the day I was reborn and returned. I investigated. My eldest sister and second sister and I were all orphans adopted by the Wei family, including those concubine daughters who were sold before. Merely the wretched sacrifices of that couple's collusion. They connived and caused so many of my sisters to lose their lives. Fate. This life I will also make them taste what it's like to be cheaply sold. The matchmaker repeatedly assured me in writing that it could be proven and guaranteed my satisfaction in less than half a month. Father died at Nanfong Hall, his body so tortured there wasn't a single unbroken patch of flesh. Mother died in the dark cell, begging repeatedly to see me one last time before she passed. Yinyu clapped her hands happily. Miss, that's truly satisfying. It's not time to be happy yet. Exposing the third prince means the Wei family will surely have to shed a layer of skin as well. I discussed with Xu Jie and decided to hand the iron mine over to the crown prince, who would then present it to the emperor. That way, it added an extra layer of protection. The Wei family's assets were split into 3 parts by me, 50% to the crown prince, 30% confiscated, and I kept 20% for myself. Cheng Shumei and Jiyu Ruyu were very indignant, muttering, "The crown prince is too greedy." I couldn't help but smile. Money can be earned again. If you lose your life, you lose everything. I couldn't talk to them much about court affairs, but making money was to be my top priority for the rest of my life. The crown prince returned the favor to me. He sent Pei Zhon off to Lingnan to deal with the miasma, and until the crown prince ascended the throne, Pei Zhon was never employed again. Later I heard Pei Zhon never married, but that no longer concerned me. For the moment, I planned to go down to Jiangnan. Outside the south gate of the city, Cheng Shumei and Jiyu Ruyu came panting after me, each carrying a shabby little bundle. Tanning, we also want to see more of the world. The wind was strong, stinging my eyes. The road ahead stretched 1,000 miles. I only hoped that in the years to come, all I wished for would be fulfilled.